can get started.
Okay.
We'll probably see some other ones. I sent out the invitation and let people know, but there's like 12 people on the list now, and it's getting to where it's hard for me to keep track of everybody. Like if I send everybody the invitation, so when we get done, I'm gonna send out an email to everybody saying, listen, I'm gonna at 5 and 9:30 check your damn email. I'm not gonna text anybody anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just getting to be too much. It's just getting. I'm spending more time farting around with that than I am dealing with just studying. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So we'll get there. It's fine. Like I said, it's everything with, always a few growing pains every time the group expands or gets more. So, okay, here we go.
Hey, so suddenly my camera on my computer isn't working.
Oh, you can hear me. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Or you'd see me at work again.
Are you at work?
I am again, yeah. That's why I wasn't able to
listen.
today.
I've added some new stuff to this to kind of go through. So let me get us calibrated, and then I'm not going to do as much review today. I'm going to just actually get into the material, kind of where we left off last night, and then at some point I want to review other stuff, but we got to cover the material in this section too. So here we go. Okay. You can see where we're at now, right?
Yes.
So some of this stuff I gleaned from last night's study group. So if I move this, is it moving for you?
No, nothing's happening right now.
Back to page 2.
Nope, nothing's happening.
Okay. Well, at least I'm on the right page right now. Okay, so right now I'm on just how to remember the endocrine glands, and I've done a little bit, and then just a gland review. So how to remember the endocrine glands. You guys taught me this yesterday. 2, 2, and 2. 2 head, hypothalamus, pituitary. 2 neck, thyroid and parathyroid, and 2 abs, adrenal and pancreas. And if you look to the right side, it just gives you an overview. The hypothalamus does what?
It controls everything.
Yeah, it's the control center, right? And the pituitary gland, they call it the master gland, but I also call it the distribution center. The hypothalamus really doesn't send anything out to anything in the body. It goes through the pituitary, and then the pituitary acts as the UPS distribution center. It takes the packages that are coming in and says where do they really need to go, and then from there it shoots them out because it kind of differentiates where they're going.
Right.
Okay, thyroid is just the metabolism regulator. Anything dealing with the thyroid. So knowing the thyroid is the metabolism regulator. Now when we talk about hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, which are 2 of the big topics under that thing, right now you know that if it's a metabolism regulator and we talk about hyperthyroidism,
it's got too much strong metabolism.
Hyperthyroidism.
Sorry, say that again.
So if we're dealing with the thyroid gland, we know that it's the metabolism regulator, just a general. Anytime we say hyper, what does hyper mean?
Kind of overactive.
Yeah, it's elevated, right?
Yeah.
So if we have an elevated thyroid gland, we're going to see heart rate and respirations increasing, and we're going to see weight loss because the body's using energy faster than it can replace it. If we talk about hypothyroidism, what are we going to be talking about?
It's too low.
Yeah, diminished metabolic action. So lower respiration, lower heart rate, lower uptake of different things, and then we're going to see
gaining weight
gain because it's the body's not using the energy it's getting. So that's why I kind of slowed this down a little bit, because I think there is a lot in this material, and it's really easy to get kind of caught up in, oh my shit, there's too much here. So that's why I slowed it down, and we're doing this quick review. Okay, so in that case, the parathyroid gland, what's it do?
Its role is calcium.
So yeah, it's calcium control. And I'm not really sure. I've got to look at this because I think this one's backwards. I think this one, you have hyperparathyroidism. I think you have too little calcium in your system, and hypoparathyroidism means they're too much. But we'll get into that. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But just know that it's the calcium control, and then that makes it's going to be easier to remember hyperparathyroid and hypoparathyroid later, because then we're not worried about what parathyroid actually does. Then we can focus in on, okay, what is the specific, differences in the system if it's hypo or hyper.
Right.
Okay. So we'll get into that. So let's just talk. So if I have elevated calcium levels in the system, whatever they are for parathyroid, if I have elevated calcium in my system, what kind of changes in the body am I going to see? Just from our electrolyte section, we should know this.
If you have too much calcium?
Yeah, too much calcium in the system does what physiologically? What does calcium actually do for the system?
Well, it's involved in the Chisovex or whatever sign. It calms skeletal muscle.
Yeah, so there's two areas of the body that we really see calcium in bone matrix, right? In the actual bone matrix of the body. So it helps to build bone structure, and then we also see it in muscle action. Those are the two things. So if we talk about altered thyroid or parathyroid function, we're only going to see two disease processes: either a muscle action instability or whatever, hypo, or it's going to be bone matrix related.
Yes.
That makes sense. So as we pull this apart and we slow things down, it doesn't seem so daunting now. Because I was really, this morning, I was looking through this and I was really crapping myself. I mean, I was literally
crapping yourself, man.
But then I slowed down and I looked at what they majorly did, slowed a second down and matched it with what I already knew. And now it doesn't seem so daunting.
Okay.
So when we talk about parathyroidism, we may talk about disease processes with regards to bone matrix instability, and now we understand why. And it makes sense mentally. I can follow it through the system and understand. Oh, that makes sense, as opposed to why the hell is that working that way? It's a little bit less confusing and less daunting.
Right. Okay.
Then the adrenals do what?
So they excrete like the epinephrine and.
So yeah, the adrenals do a lot of things, really. The adrenal glands do a lot of things. So fight or flight response and rest and digest are the two systems that they're working with, specifically with the CNS system, with central nervous system and autonomic nervous system, and then breaking it down one more step, it's fight or flight or rest and digest, which is sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve action. The adrenal glands really associate in there, and you're right, epinephrine and norepinephrine are two of the substances that they secrete. What is another substance we learned about the kidney action?
Aldosterone.
Yeah, aldosterone's in there. Now let me ask you,
salt.
what was that?
To retain salt.
Yeah, and so would that be sympathetic or parasympathetic? What does retaining salt do for us?
So it raises the blood pressure because the water follows it. So I'm going to say that would be a sympathetic response.
Yeah, it's a sympathetic response for fight or flight, right?
Right. Bam.
We want to raise blood pressure so we can go to war.
Yes.
So now you're getting it. See, when we take a step back, now it doesn't seem so daunting, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that doesn't seem so daunting now, but there is a lot going on. We're going to spend the majority of today in the adrenal glands talking about the different receptors, because as I look through the material, this seemed to be the most daunting with the most detailed stuff. Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2 receptors and how they work. This seemed, after going through it all, the rest of it's just memorizing stuff, right? It's just memorizing thyroid and hyperthyroid and hypothyroidism. Right now, we just talked about it. We already generally know what's going on with the thyroid gland. We already generally know what's going on with parathyroid, but with adrenal, there is a lot of detailed stuff going on with it.
Right.
So we're going to dig into that the most tonight, right now.
Okay.
And then the pancreas, we just spent a whole unit talking about pancreatic action.
Yes, we did.
Okay. So the major feature that the pancreas is going to be involved with, specifically with the endocrine system, is diabetes related.
Right.
Why would the pancreas be so associated with diabetes mellitus?
Why would it be? I mean,
yeah.
Are you? I think just because of the insulin that it secretes.
Yes, the beta cells in the pancreas secrete insulin, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's the endocrine side of the pancreas. What was the GI side of the pancreas? What did the pancreas do to the GI tract?
It released products to break down lipids.
There it is. And so that is another structure that can be a little bit confusing because that particular organ transitions. It actually sits on two systems, GI and endocrine. It's one of those crossover ones. And again, that could be a little bit challenging just because of that. Okay.
Well, isn't it also an exocrine? It's like an exocrine and endocrine gland.
It is. It has both functions. And why does it have both functions?
Well, the exocrine, is that the bile stuff?
Yeah, exocrine is going to be bile because it travels through a duct and directly empties into the duodenum.
There we go.
Which is the neighbor. It doesn't have to enter the blood system to get there.
Because it travels through a duct. That's right. Okay, that's what
empties into the neighbor. It's close delivery of the male, right? Where
yes, sir.
Where insulin is doing what? Is that a long distance delivery?
That's anywhere throughout the body delivery. Yeah,
anywhere that we need insulin to get glucose to be uptaken into tissues, insulin needs to be there to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the endocrine side.
Okay.
There we go. That's good. That is good association. I'm really glad that you kind of grabbed onto that.
I did. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to click this forward. We are on page number 5 of the notes. If you're following notes.
Okay.
Oh shit. So we're on page 5 of the notes. Did my screen click over to this slide that says adrenal gland review?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are 2 portions of the adrenal gland. Do you know what they are?
There's the medulla and the cortex.
Cortex, right?
Yes.
So the medulla is the inner portion, and it secretes catecholamines, which are toxic to the body, right? We don't tolerate those very well, but they have a very, 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 very special function for us. Do you know the two catecholamine transmitters or secretions of the adrenal gland? You said them earlier.
The 2 catecholamine. Oh yeah, epinephrine and norepinephrine.
Yeah, so those are the catecholamines. Now let me ask you a question. When you hear the term epinephrine and norepinephrine, do you think fast response or slow response?
Super fast.
It's super fast, right? It's a super fast response. And so that would be the fast response. So what does that mean about its drop off?
It's also fast. It doesn't last very long.
It's a quick response and it drops off very quick. So let me use a good example of this. In EMS, especially with paramedics and emergency medical technicians in the field, epinephrine is one of the things that we use a lot of because it's anaphylactic shock, right? So someone gets a bee sting, they go into anaphylaxis, their airway starts to occlude, so we give them epinephrine. So epinephrine, it acts as a relaxer, right? It's a bronchodilator and a vasoconstrictor. It drives up blood pressure and it opens up their airway so it's easier for them to breathe. Have you heard respiration perfusion balance before? Have you heard us talk about? Okay, so epinephrine is a respiration perfuser balancer.
How so?
Because so when somebody goes into anaphylaxis, their airway occludes, right? So it's dropping off. So their respiration is being occluded.
Right.
So what's happening? On the side on that balance? If their respirations are being occluded, their respirations are being slowed down, then that means what's going to happen at the tissue level? Are the tissues getting the oxygen they need?
No.
So as respirations drop, perfusion is going to be called for. If the body wants more oxygen and it can't get it. So epinephrine, we infuse epinephrine and it opens up the airway, it bronchodilates, and it vasoconstricts, and it brings that back in balance.
Right. Okay.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an association to what we talked about in the previous unit.
Okay.
We were talking about that respiration perfusion balance, and epinephrine acts as that. Now, norepinephrine is an opposite, right? It acts on different receptors, and it works with epinephrine.
Okay.
So epinephrine is the major one. Norepinephrine, we're going to talk about it in a minute when we get down to the different receptors, okay?
Okay.
But that was just my example of how epinephrine works.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now listen. Now, if I give epinephrine to someone in the field, how long is that epinephrine shot going to last before they need to be in the hospital getting care for their anaphylaxis?
Oh, I want to say like less than an hour. It's not very long.
We're going to give them a shot. We're going to give them a shot of epinephrine. They're going to get an initial response. They're going to feel better. They're going to be, I can breathe. I'm feeling really good, right?
Yeah.
It's going to push off those anaphylactic responses. But what'll happen is patients will give them the shot. They'll get feeling better, and then as EMTs will be like, "Hey, we really need to take you to the hospital." What do they want to tell us?
They're like, take off, you hoser.
Why the hell would I go to the hospital and get an ambulance ride?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the other side of that, is that we have to encourage them to get help.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they need to be on a drip. They need to be on a drip really dealing with their anaphylaxis in the hospital, because this rapid cleanup isn't going to last very long. We need to get them in and get them like the corticosteroids and stuff that they need to really deal with their histamine levels and let the body balance out.
Right.
And that takes longer than 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just remember, so on the two things, the medulla, the adrenal medulla is non-essential. The body has a backup for this system. I haven't looked it up yet, but the body has a backup for the adrenal medulla. So there's another place the body's
really?
epinephrine and norepinephrine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But the adrenal cortex, on the other hand, there aren't any backups to this. If we lose the adrenal cortex, we die. And that's
okay.
what the bottom says. If the adrenal glands are lost in 4 to 14 days, we're going to die, because there is no backup to the cortex.
Okay.
The secretions from the adrenal cortex, the glucocorticoids, the mineralocorticoids, and the androgens, the sex hormones, there are no backups for those. If we lose that, we die.
Okay.
Okay. So if you hear the term glucocorticoids, what's gluco mean?
Sugar.
Sugar, right?
Yeah.
Mineralocorticoids means it's mineral based. Okay. So remember, that's just more of a thing to kind of help you remember them. But cortisol, have you heard the term cortisol before?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a stress hormone.
All about
Stress.
Yeah, cortisol is that stress hormone.
Yeah.
That's the thing that helps us fight the bear or outrun the bear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, under mineralocorticoids, there's a really funny thing called aldosterone. Have we heard of that before?
Yes, we have.
That one we kind of know, so we're not going to spend too much time talking about that one. But cortisol, and then obviously androgens. We're not going to spend too much time talking about the sex hormones in this particular piece of this.
Okay.
But where are we going to talk about androgens again in this class?
In this class, well, what are the sections left? Not in the.
Well, just look at what this said. They're sex hormones. So under repo,
Yeah, right.
we're going to be talking about androgens again. So we're not going to spend any time now talking about them, but we will be talking about them later in repo.
Right.
So just remember that again, one of the things that we've done not so good of, I think, even for me, is that as I look through the material, some of the stuff pushes into the future, and some of the stuff is review from previous stuff.
Yes.
Aldosterone is a review from previous sections we've studied. Androgens is looking forward, and cortisol is really where we're going to spend most of our time in this section talking about with regards to the cortex. We're going to be talking a lot about cortisol and what it does.
Okay.
Am I kind of spinning you up on that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
I'm not talking about aldosterone. We won't be talking too much time talking about androgens. We'll definitely be talking about cortisol.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're on page 6. I'll get this up for you so you can see it. Kind of follow me. Are you following me? Are you on page? Are you on the can you see?
I'm on page 6, and the slide says adrenal glands continued.
Yeah, so it says ANS breakdown. So ANS is autonomic nervous system breakdown, and it says, so what? What's the point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through this. So sympathetic nervous system. When you hear sympathetic, think androgenic.
Adrenergic.
Yes. Oh shit. Yeah. Adrenergic.
No, man, you're good. You're good.
I'm losing my mind, dude. Okay, so adrenergic. Okay. And then fight or flight. So anytime you hear one of those 3 terms, I'm going to use a term. I'm going to use one of those 3 terms, and I want you to tell me the other 2 back.
Okay.
Sympathetic.
Adrenergic, fight or flight.
Adrenergic.
Sympathetic,
Okay. Sympathetic, and what else?
fight or flight.
Okay. Fight or flight.
Sympathetic, adrenergic.
Okay, so those are interchangeable. You can use them interchangeably now.
Okay, sweet.
Okay. So moving over, without moving into the messengers just yet, we're going to talk about in a second. But look at parasympathetic. So parasympathetic goes with cholinergic and rest and digest. So under the same guise, I could say rest and digest. So what am I talking about? What are the other 2 phrases that I could use?
Parasympathetic,
Cholinergic.
There we go. And if I say cholinergic, what else can I use for that?
Rest and digest, parasympathetic.
There you go. And I had a note here under cortex. Ignore that. I got to take that out. I was trying to develop an idea, and I screwed it up because I was trying to make this association that all the messengers that deal with this were associated with that structure in the adrenal glands, and it's just not true. Like if you look at chemical messengers for sympathetic, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine have all actions in the sympathetic nervous system or adrenergic system, but look at where they're made.
They're made in the adrenal medulla and the brain.
The adrenal medulla, right?
Mm-hmm.
But dopamine's not made in the adrenal medulla. Where is it made?
In the brain.
It's made in the brain, right? So it's totally different. But yet it has some actions dealing with an adrenergic system.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, so here are the receptors.
Okay.
Alpha 1, alpha 2.
Beta 1, beta 2, and dopamine.
And then our dopamine, okay? So I'm going to move forward. Okay, so the chemical messenger dealing with the parasympathetic nervous system is acetylcholine, and that's created where?
It's created in the brain, in the nerve endings.
Yeah, acetylcholine is in the nerve endings, right?
Yeah.
It's a neurotransmitter, a synapse transmitter between nervous system endings.
Yes.
So it's dumped by the afferent neuron, or excuse me, the efferent neuron, and the afferent neuron picks, or the organ, whatever it's acting on, picks them up and then responds to them.
Yeah, and it's the acetylcholine receptors that are implicated in Alzheimer's.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the receptors that deal with parasympathetic are muscarinic and nicotinic, and I spent a whole freaking semester in physiology totally confused about alpha, beta, dopamine, muscarinic, and nicotinic receptors. Literally, I literally learned this today. I heard it in physiology and didn't understand these until today, how they worked.
One of those two is faster than the other, right?
Yeah, no, and we're going to kind of dig into that. This unit talks about that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to let you know, with all the cool stuff that everybody thinks that I know all the time, I was completely lost in the sauce on this until this lecture in this class.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Well,
I go, oh, I didn't know that. I should have known it. I didn't.
Yeah.
For some reason, I never made these associations in physiology until now.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different receptors in the we're going to talk about the different receptors. And here we go. So now we're dealing with just adrenergic receptors. So what are the 5 adrenergic receptors again?
Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2, and dopamine.
Okay, so alpha 1, all alpha 1 receptors constrict.
Okay.
So can't see, can't spit, can't pee, can't poo-poo.
Yes, that's right.
So blood vessels. So we talked about epinephrine before. What does epinephrine do to the blood vessels?
The epinephrine, constricts the blood vessels, but dilates the airways.
Yeah, so epinephrine constricts at the alpha 1 receptor, but look what the beta 2 receptor on the other side does.
For epinephrine.
Yeah, look at beta 2.
Beta 2. Yeah, lungs, bronchodilation.
So is it fair to say that epinephrine acts on both alpha 1 and beta 2 receptors?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they're adrenergic receptors.
Well, yeah, because alpha 1 is a vasodilator, and then beta 2 is a alpha 1 are vasoconstrictors, and beta 2s are the bronchodilators, and we just know from dealing with like EMT stuff that we know that those are some effects that epinephrine gives to people in anaphylactic shock or anaphylactic emergency that help to relieve their symptoms.
Right. So hold on. So we're just talking about epinephrine here.
Yeah, just epinephrine.
But since epinephrine is a adrenergic drug, it can act on all 5 of these receptors, but it can act on more than one of these receptors, but have different effects.
Absolutely. That's exactly my
because of those
point.
receptors.
So it's a good bet that norepinephrine acts on similar receptors, but has a different response.
Right. Okay.
And we just need to understand. So that's the memorization part, right? That's the memorization piece. We just need to understand what the different receptors are. That's what we're starting with. We're learning what the receptors do, what they act on, and then now we need to go back and learn what the drugs do.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're not going to worry. I'm just using epinephrine as an example because it's one that I know really well. Right. That's why I'm not using any other examples, because I haven't used any other real drugs that have dealt with any of these other things, and that's why I'm kind of staying away from it.
Okay.
Okay, so alpha ones do what?
Alpha ones constrict.
Constrict, right? So can't see, can't spit, can't pee, can't poop, right?
Yes.
And so the adrenergic does what? What system? What are we trying to ramp up to do by doing all this stuff?
The sympathetic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're going. Are we gonna sit down and have a meal, or are we gonna go fight the Taliban?
We're gonna go fight the Taliban.
Yeah, we're not really worried about peeing and pooping and worried. We're worried about fighting the Taliban, right?
Yeah.
So all those systems aren't important to us right now.
Yes, survival.
Yeah, survival is important. So we're a vasoconstrictor, which drives up our blood pressure. We're an eye constrictor, which actually it dilates the pupils. Right. But remember how Tana says it dilates the iris, which opens up the pupils, which allows more light in to make it so that we see the brick flying in from the side to hit us in the head.
Wait, didn't you say it dilates the pupil by constricting the iris?
Is that what it is? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I just know that it allows more light in.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and that's so that we don't get hit in the head with the brick.
Yes.
Okay, or a sucker punch or whatever.
See more.
Bladder, it constricts the bladder so we don't pee.
Yes.
And it constricts the colon. Okay, so why does it constrict these things?
So the colon and the bladder, I mean, I would have thought that in some way that's similar to the blood vessels, that if you constrict it, that's like initially you would like pee or poo-poo.
Well, no. Where do I want? If I'm gonna go get in a fight, do I want my oxygenated blood in my muscles in my arms and legs, or do I want my oxygenated muscles in my stomach and my bladder?
Oh, in your muscles and your legs, yeah.
So I constrict those areas to force blood to somewhere else that I need it more.
Okay.
That's why those constrict out, is because I don't need blood in my colon. I need to go kick some ass.
Right.
Okay. So A2, what does A2 do?
So it's going to constrict also, right?
Actually, A2 controls A1 and shuts down A1.
Oh.
A1's the ramp up, and A2 is the control that cuts that says, okay, hey, hold on, we're good.
So that's the negative feedback, right?
So it starts to shut down A1 and brings us out. It brings us off the edge.
That's the negative feedback, right?
That's the negative feedback system that controls A1.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move over to B2.
Sweet.
I'll let you drive the ship since the notes are up.
Okay. You want to start with B2 or B1?
Just go at B1. Just hit B1.
Okay, so B1 beats the heart, increases heart rate and contractility. Memory aid, B1 equals 1 heart. Oh, okay. B1.
We have 1 heart, so it's B1.
1 heart. Yeah, okay. Okay, kidneys, it increases BP. Yeah, so the kidneys, how does the kidney increase BP? Through the RAS.
Yeah, through secreting renin, right?
Yes.
And then that renin system causes aldosterone to be secreted at the end, and then that aldosterone tells the kidneys to keep sodium in the system and to pull water back in the system. Okay, that's what's going on.
Okay, so B2 breathes. So like we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
The lungs, they cause bronchodilation. And then this memory tip here, B2 equals 2 lungs. Oh, okay. Okay, B1, 1 heart. B2, 2 lungs. Okay. That's cool. I like that. Where'd you get that from?
That was just in the notes.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Well, I added it. I made it a little bit easier to remember it.
Okay. The uterus decreases contractions. So this is all still part of the fight or flight response.
Yeah. Well, and again, so uterine contractions is uterine. You've watched a baby be born, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hey, is your wife in fight or flight when that's going on, or is she in rest and digest?
She's in rest and digest.
Well, no, having a baby is fight or flight.
Right. Okay.
So if she's in fight or flight to have the baby, once the baby delivers, then this is a system that says, "Hey, stop getting the shit kicked out of yourself."
Okay. So, now wait. Kind of how we were talking about yesterday with Addie. Maybe. Let's see. So, sorry. This might not be correct or make sense, but I'm just.
No.
Anyway.
Throw it out.
So A1, constricts. Okay. So let's go with the lady in labor, right? So,
Yep.
She's kind of in a fight or flight response. And then A2 wants to shut down that, wants to shut down that through negative feedback. But we were talking yesterday how there's a positive feedback during labor.
Oxytocin is secreted by what?
Oxytocin is secreted by the
posterior pituitary, and
posterior pituitary,
by the posterior pituitary.
Why?
Yeah, why is it secreting why is oxytocin being secreted by the posterior pituitary? What causes that to happen? Well, your baby's head is sticking in your wife's uterus, sticking out the vagina, crowning.
Yeah. Right.
When that's going on, oxytocin's being released. That's positive feedback, right? Like, hey, this thing's happened.
Yeah.
Start secreting oxytocin to keep that contraction going, man. Because do you think the uterus gets tired?
Oh yeah.
Uterus is getting tired. Like, hey, I'm getting kicked. Man, let's get this kid out of here so I can get this done. So oxytocin's being released. Bam, 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 bam. Mom's in labor. She pushes the kid out, and then B2 receptors are activated to stop that, to bring her down from the edge.
Okay.
So,
wow, that's interesting.
It says turbidiline is a bronchodilator and a tocolytic to stop labor. So that drug we can give to women to stop labor, because you know how women go into labor prematurely and invariably, oh, the doctor gave me a drug and it stopped my contractions. That's the drug. Doctor gave me to stop those contractions.
Okay, terbutaline is a bronchodilator and a tocolytic to stop labor. Okay.
So doctors giving her a bronchodilator to shut off, to counter A1 receptors that are taking her into fight or flight. So he's bronchodilating her to get her more air, and then they're shutting off the uterine contraction hormone, oxytocin. They're kind of heading it off in the past to stop the uterine contractions.
Okay.
Dude, I'm glad I'm a man. I'm just going to say it.
Seriously, man.
I'm going to be honest. Okay.
For real.
A little blue note. We haven't really talked about dopamine, have we?
Right. Not really. No,
hey,
it's the
look up under
reward
drug. Look at B1 and look at A1. So we talked about, so what happens in A1? What is one of the functions of A1?
Constrictor.
It constricts what stuff, though?
Okay. Blood vessels, the eyes, the bladder, the colon.
Okay, ding, 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 bladder. How well does the bladder do when we constrict blood flow to it?
Not good.
How long will the kidneys go before they die without blood? If they're kept from getting blood, how long before they die?
What was it? 4 to 6 hours or something like that?
30 minutes. About 30 minutes, the cells die in the kidneys.
Okay.
So our adrenergic system in the adrenals, they can kill themselves. The bladder can die because we're going to go fight the bear, right?
Right.
We're going to war, right? The bladder can fill itself if we're not careful. Okay, but look what B1 does. What does B1 do?
B1 through the kidney increases blood pressure.
And how does it do that?
Through the RAS by the secretion of renin.
By releasing renin. Look what dopamine in the blue box does.
Okay, it keeps the kidney from dying. It's a counter to epi effects on the kidneys.
So if epi constricts the blood vessels to the kidneys, then dopamine acts exactly opposite by doing what?
Dilates.
It dilates the blood vessels specifically around the kidneys to keep blood flow up.
Okay.
That's why dopamine is important.
Okay.
So we have blood vessel constriction to the bladder. We have renin being released, it's driving blood pressure up, and then dopamine is telling those blood vessels to stay open. Do not constrict.
Or else you're gonna die.
There you go.
Like, trust me, I'm saving your life.
Okay, so I'm moving on. I actually, hold on, let me get this up for you. So I just took this right from the book, from the notes. I actually downloaded it right into the slide deck. It's a little small, I apologize, but it really does a good job of summarizing the two adrenergic and cholinergic systems. And then it talks about antidiuretic drugs, and it talks about anticholinergic drugs. Okay. So let's go to adrenergic. Let's go through that one more time, very, very quickly, just using her quick notes. So adrenergic does what? What system is this?
Sorry, just a sec, Christopher. Sorry, man. No, you're good. You're good.
Scopes are mostly done. I just want to make sure that they get done, especially since it's a smart book. So.
Yeah. No, I'll get those done. Okay. Cool. Thanks. Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, I'm
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Just you and me, so I don't care. Whatever. I'm getting my review.
I'm disappointed in everyone else tonight.
Was that?
I said I'm disappointed in everyone else tonight.
Yeah, I knew Addison wasn't going to be here. She's working too.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm getting ready to start work myself. So, okay. So adrenergic. When I say adrenergic, what are the other two words you can use for adrenergic?
Fight or flight, sympathetic.
There you go. Okay, the receptors. Don't look at the receptors. I want you to tell me what the receptors are and what they do without looking. Close your eyes.
Okay. I am closing my eyes. Okay, they are A1, B1. So alpha 1, alpha. Sorry. Let me back up.
You're good. Start again.
Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2, and dopamine.
Okay, what do those cats do?
So alpha, no, gosh dang. Yeah, alpha 1 constricts.
Okay. It constricts everything,
alpha,
right? You don't have to remember individual stuff. It just constricts everything.
Yeah, constricts blood vessels, eyes.
Everything. Pee time.
Right, yeah.
Poop. Everything is constricted by that.
Yep. Okay, and then alpha 2 controls A1. The A1 ramp up.
Yeah, it controls A1 ramp up. Says, hey, don't constrict everything. A2 is kind of controls what's going on. Then what does B1 do?
B1. Okay, so B1.
B1 equals.
Is that the one that dilates? Bronchodilates?
No, B1 equals what? One heart.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so what does it do?
B1 equals 1 heart. So it increases the heart rate.
Yep, increases blood pressure, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what does B2 do?
B2, 2 lungs.
There you go.
So bronchodilates, increases respirations.
Yeah, it makes it easier to breathe. Okay, what was our last what was our last adrenergic receptor?
Dopamine.
Okay, dopamine. What did dopamine do?
Dopamine saves the kidneys.
Yeah, it tells the kidneys not to kill itself. But how does it do that?
So after the kidneys constrict, and the blood pressure goes up, and There's less blood flow to the kidneys. The dopamine receptors come in and tell them to stop constricting and dilate.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, no, you're right on target. Here's what we're gonna do. So cholinergic does what? What does cholinergic system do? What are the other two words for that?
Is parasympathetic and rest and digest.
Yep. So those are so everything the cholinergic's gonna do is gonna counteract fight or flight.
Okay.
So if we've shut off pee-pee time, we shut off poop, we've increased breathing, we've increased blood to the muscles to kill the Taliban or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And what is the exact opposite thing we have to do?
The exact opposite is slow down, go, take a pee.
We're going to push all that blood from the arms and legs to where?
Back to the core.
Yeah. Well, back to the GI, back to the pee time.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really where all that blood's going.
Right.
Which makes sense, right? Because you're going to start putting down a double cheese, a large Coke, and some fries, right?
Yep.
So there you go.
You go.
Okay. So antidiuretic drugs. So just a quick look ahead. Antidiuretic drugs block fight or flight.
Antidiuretic drugs. Yeah. So those would be the antidiuretic. So they do the same thing as the cholinergic drugs, right?
They assist cholinergic response, right?
Right.
So the other class of drugs is called anticholinergic drugs, and they block rest and digest. So what do those guys do?
They assist in the fight or flight response.
Yeah, they help you can't see, can't pee, can't poop, can't breathe.
Cheers.
Yeah, can't spit. They help with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
Wonderful, man.
Okay, so that's it. That's all I had for tonight. Okay.
Hey, we got through it though. That's awesome.
So, I mean, we still got quite a bit more in it, but I'm just saying it took us 35 minutes to get through the review to kind of get spun up on where we were at, and then 25 minutes just to get through alpha and beta receptors and the adrenergic system. So tomorrow, be thinking we got to spend only like a half an hour, 40 minutes to get through cholinergic, antidiuretic, and anticholinergic drugs. Okay.
Okay.
So tomorrow,
hey, Chris,
we're going to have time finishing that.
Okay.
And then we got to get into hyperthyroidism, parathyroidism, and all that crap.
Okay.
But there's a lot going on here.
Okay. Hey, so I really want to, I don't want to slow people down. I want to be able to get on with you and move through stuff really fast, but still cover everything that we need to.
No, it's just you and me tonight, so you're not slowing anybody down.
I know, but even still, I feel like, maybe the two of us even should have gotten a little bit farther or something. Maybe, I don't know. But
I can only go as far as I can go in a day too.
All right.
I'm working too, and like I said, tomorrow, God, my freaking renters finally paid their rent, so I'm feeling a lot better now.
Oh, good.
No, they got like 2 months behind, and they're going to pay it all up tomorrow. And then I'm passing my house on to a management company, which I hate doing, but it's been stressing me the hell out because I've been doing it all myself. I'm just passing the whole thing over to an effing management company and just walking away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep the house. It's my house, but I got a management company coming to take care of the house and to collect the rent and keep it rented and everything. I'm just done with it.
Oh, man.
So I've been doing it all in-house, and I'm just done. My renter, I got good people in there, but they got 2 months behind the rent, and it was just like it's gotten crazy. But they're getting caught up tomorrow. They gave me a little bit more than half the rent back pay today, and they're going to pay the rest of it tomorrow morning. And then the management company's going to come in and re-sign the lease with them on the 13th. So don't again, you're not getting me behind. I just had a lot going on with that crap, and then just getting this group thing going. But you're not getting anybody behind. And again, as you can see, some people are serious and some people aren't. Yeah. So it is what it is.
Well, Chris, you put in like so much work, man, and I don't think it's fair that you should need to do that for the whole group. So how How can I help you out? What can I do?
Tomorrow when we talk, I'll give you some sections that are you working tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Friday. I've
Yeah.
got my nursing classes from 9 to 5 tomorrow.
Holy shit, are you serious?
Yeah, man.
They
First
just
semester is
let's go to nursing
crazy.
classes.
Yeah.
No, the only reason I'm doing this, dude, is this is the only class I'm taking right now.
Okay.
So don't feel bad. And
Well,
besides, me doing all this helps me learn it.
Okay.
So you don't get all bent shaped about it. It's not that big a deal to me.
All right.
So you're good,
Well,
dude.
tomorrow night for the 9:31. Do you want me to come prepared to present something?
Yeah, if you go over the cholinergic stuff and then and do antidiuretic and anticholinergic, if you can cover those tomorrow, I'm gonna start digging into the pancreas tomorrow. So I'll prepare for pancreas if you'll do those other 3 for adrenal, so we can finish those 2 tomorrow.
Okay. Diuretic, anticholinergic, and anti-adrenergic.
Yeah, so anticholinergic, antidiuretic, and then cholinergic system. And then we'll review these again. We'll review the adrenergic system just to make sure we kind of strangle these down.
Okay.
And then, like I said, then I think right when I was looking at the notes, that's about with the exception of diabetes, which is where the pancreas is at. That's like half of our notes right there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like hyperthyroidism, for God's sakes, you lose weight and you have a high blood pressure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's more to it than that, but at the end of the day, 90% of the questions are going to be related to that crap. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
For the kidney stuff, this stuff could get really crazy question-wise. So we'll just
yeah. Sorry, just one more time. I'm putting it in my phone. Antidiuretic, anticholinergic,
and then the cholinergic system. How about I give you the page numbers? Hold on. Let me give you the page numbers.
Okay.
So you're gonna cover page 7. Page 7. How about page 7 and 8?
Page 7 and 8.
Yeah, because cortisol. Yeah, page 7 and 8. That's where all that stuff is at.
Okay.
So
7 and 8.
Addison's disease and Cushing's disease.
Do I know anything? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm saying those are in there. So Addison's and Cushing's are in there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you should be able to knock this crap out. And like I said, I'll just start hitting the other systems. Like, again, I'm going to definitely get into pancreas. That's diabetes. That's where the diabetes stuff is at.
Yes. Okay, cool.
We got to get into hyperglycemia. Yeah, I'm gonna get into diabetes tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool, dude.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Are you going to work tonight then?
Yeah, I'm at work now.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. Cool.
I'm gonna sleep on the floor for an hour and then I'm gonna work.
Oh yeah? Wow. Alrighty.
I'm a total hobo, dude. It's horrible.
Total hobo, dude.
I'm total freaking hobo, dude.
Whatever, man.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Have fun, man. Yeah, just hit those when you get a minute. I mean, if you can present slides or do a slideshow, great. If you just do it verbal, I don't care. Let's just get it hard tomorrow, get that knocked out.
Alrighty. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, dude. Keep it real.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.